So today we want to talk about something really interesting. Not only is finding technicians a challenge, but we narrowed it down because it fits our topic so well, which is how do you find technicians who have DVI experience? And when I say DVI experience, it's often less can they use a phone or tablet. That's probably a given. But are they familiar with a process where they have to play their part so the service advisor can educate customers? Lots of technicians perceive that initially, until they see their paycheck, see that initially as a burden, more work, right? And so let me welcome Lisa, Amy, and Joelle from Promotive. If one of you can tell us a little bit initially what you're doing and what your background is, I'd appreciate it.
Sure.
Yes.
I guess
You
it's
go, Joel.
all right. I was unmuted, so I thought I'd go. So yeah, I think what we're doing with Promotive is we're really partnering with shops, and our whole goal is to be an extension of their team and manage that full recruiting process, right? Shop owners are busy running their business, working on their business, their culture, implementing processes and trainings like DVI and whatnot. So what we do is looking to partner with shops that are utilizing digital vehicle inspections and are providing training and ongoing training and career opportunities and good culture, right? So those top shops out there. And I have about a little over 10 years of automotive experience. Amy, has the recruiting background. I think it's 15, 16 years of recruiting. And then Lisa's obviously been in the industry for a while too, working with shop owners. So yeah, we're working with about 130 shops across the country right now. And our whole goal is really to place any role within the shop, from technicians to service advisors, manager roles. And we're about, 9 months into this thing, and we're continuing to learn a little bit about each shop and how they operate. And I think that's what we're going to talk about on the recruiting side. And Amy will be able to dive a little bit deeper into what we're really doing as we're screening candidates and vetting candidates to really make sure we're pairing that right technician with the right shop based on their processes.
I like that, pairing the right shop with the right technician, because I know a lot of technicians that do really well where they're at that would not do well here.
Yeah. No doubt.
No doubt.
Is that your initial recruiting statement when you hire new technicians?
No. They have to be engageable, right? They have to engageable is a word. I don't know if that's really even a word, but I think everybody knows what I mean, right? You have to be able to tell them, they have to buy in, right? There's not that many people, even if they know what a DVI is, and even if they've done it before, they probably haven't done it at this level. Mm-hmm. If they had done it at this level, they probably wouldn't be leaving where they're at. That's kind of things kind of go hand in hand. The attitude of an owner that doesn't engage his employees also doesn't have a DVI that's done at the level that it should be.
And I think just to tee it up a little bit more, so when shops are interested and to learn more about what we're doing in our services, right? It kind of starts with me on that side to kind of do an initial discovery call, right? To figure out, are they the right partner? Are we the right partner for them?
Right.
So, really figuring out, okay, what DVI are they using, shop management software, integrations, trainings, things like that. And if they're not using DVI, a big piece is to obviously educate them that they should be, for all the reasons. And it's a hard thing for a shop to wrap their heads around if they're not using DVI, right? Because it really starts with the shop to instill that behavior, and this is how it's going to be done. And then let them know and understand that it's a win-win on the shop side, on the consumer side, as it relates to their paycheck, so on and so forth, right? So it kind of starts with me, and then it goes to our account management, where they do that initial intake call. to really get a good understanding of the wants and needs and whatnot. And I know, Amy, I don't want to take any of your thunder. I know you'll touch a little bit on that too. So
let's learn more about Amy and Lisa.
Yes. Okay, so I'll tell you about myself. So as Joelle mentioned, I have over 15 years of recruiting experience. Initially, my background has been in technology, and so technology recruiting. And so I've moved into the automotive space over the last year. And what I've learned is that a lot of the similarities in what we look for when matching candidates are there. Recruiting is recruiting. You have to identify a good match, and that good match may not just be their technical skills, but it's also, as you mentioned, Bruce, their soft skills and how they work with the team and how they communicate and how do they communicate with the advisors that you have on staff. How are they from an employee standpoint? What type of management style do they thrive in? Things like that. So we do a lot of that soft skills matching, but we also dig into the technical space. And as we're talking about here, technology, whether it be in any industry, is I think really key in having the person come into the environment and really ramp up quickly. So going back into touching on what Joelle mentioned as far as the shop intake call. So my job is to really talk with the shop owner, and oftentimes it's the shop owner, and sometimes it's a technician on staff, or it's the shop owner and the foreman, and really understanding what's important to them. We have shops right now that are highly technical and do a very thorough inspection on every single vehicle that come in. And then we have shops that's just maybe not as important to them. And so for us, it's a matter of really understanding what's important to the shop, what they're looking for, not just from a DVI perspective, but all of the shop management software that they have there. And then determining what type of individual, whether it's ideally the specific type of DVI and software packages that you use. Ideally, we're looking for that, but if not that, the aptitude to learn and how have they used this technology. So it's, as I mentioned, it starts on the intake call, and that usually is about 30 to 45-minute conversation that we have with the shop owner to really make sure that we're aligned on exactly what we're looking for to start the search.
Who would have guessed that she's only been doing this for a year in the automotive space? So well said, Amy. Look at you. I know it's the guys like you make it easy to learn this industry because you really are passionate about it, and Amy is passionate about recruiting, and that was so well said. Nice job.
Yeah, and I think what's important for us, and I think it's also important to mention this on the call, is in recruiting, we aren't necessarily the expert in automotive repair or technology or whatever we're recruiting for. But our job as a recruiter is to really understand the client, the shop that we're working for, and then really understand the candidate side and help to make that match. So the more information the shop can give us on the front end, some of our shops will even give us specific screening questions that we're asking on the front end. The more information we have on that, the better match we're able to make. So that's, I think, really important when we're working together as a partner.
Yeah, and what you guys are doing on DVI every single day, we'd love to know some questions and learn from you too in this, and maybe from everybody on this call, just some other ideas. But quickly on me for you guys, I've been in automotive for about a dozen years or so on the payments and software side, and the number one issue that you hear every day in sales from shop owners is I can't do this or make this change because I'm short staffed. I can't find a tech. My service advisor called out, this one is on disability. And what I've learned from going all these trade shows, which we've seen all of you at, and many of these, is there's really not anybody doing this like super like all day, every day, like where you say, hey, this is the company that we want. to lead our recruiting arm of our business. So there is a challenge, and with a challenge, there's opportunity. And when you have people like Joelle in the industry, who's been at Napa for 9 years prior to doing this, and then Amy with her recruiting background, and you get a good team of people, it kind of comes full circle with building something out there that can help the businesses that have become our friends over the last 10 years or so. So really, that's how this all started. And I'm not in the day-to-day the way Amy and Joelle are on it, but I think there's a huge opportunity to plug this in into shops even further with what we're building. So it's been a lot of fun.
Very good. I have a question.
Yeah.
So
Me too.
I think on hard skills, let's talk about hard skills for a minute. Soft skills, I think, can be, if somebody's got the aptitude, somebody's engageable, I think they can be, we can work with them on DVI. DVI is too new in the industry to still for us to be able to just call somebody in and say, hey, this is what we do, and they just know how we do it. But what about other skills, diagnostic skills, things like that? Do you have a way that you test for that?
So right now, and that's a great question. So we have been exploring specific tests that we can use as options. Right now, we are doing more of the screening on the front end and really diving into how much time they're spending in diagnostics. We're digging into asking them the front end screening questions, also digging into their work history and understanding exactly what they've done and what percentage of time they've spent doing diagnostic work. So each shop looks at it a bit differently. So again, we will, if there is a shop that we're working with that asks for an assessment, that's something that we can explore with them. Oftentimes our shops have assessments that they like to administer. And so we do have several shops that administer their own assessment as part of the screening process, but it's not something that is required on the front end by many of our shops.
And I think to add too is, there's, when you say diagnosing something, right? I mean, are you talking electrical? There's so many different codes and modules and things like that, right? So I sit on the ASE board, and we actually just were last week talking about all the test prep guides, and you go to that thing and it's like 300 pages, but there's questions you could ask. So if a shop is heavily focused in one area, we kind of have some questions we could ask. And, even every shop owner has a different perspective on certifications and whatnot. And I mean, I think that, I guess here's an ASE pitch, right? I mean, it's a badge of honor, right? But it's definitely lost its lackluster, and trying to figure out how we can kind of brush the dust off of there. So what we're starting to explore and kind of test out is every shop, by the time a candidate gets to the shop, the goal is that there's 1 or 2 final interviews, because we've thoroughly vetted them out. And you may have some more of those specific questions as it relates to that. Running them through the process quickly is important, but what we're starting to learn and try out more with shops is maybe that half-day working interview, so that you can really see and kind of test them on how much do they really know and understand when it comes to diagnosing. Are they really that B level, right? Whatever that means, depending what shop you're talking to, that could do some diagnostics, but then can they really dive in? So
yeah, I know what it means to me. I don't know what it means to Frank or you or that's interesting. And just an observation in the industry. The industry is full of people who got a job somewhere and started working and got to where they could do brakes or they could do mechanical things on cars, but they don't have the formal training that they need to be able to develop skills beyond BTech. Right?
Yep. Absolutely. And that's why, again, when we're talking with shops on the front end, we want, a lot of shops have their own apprentice program, which again gets you to that CB level, but then are the shops willing to invest in that ongoing training and whether it's trade shows or the technical training and things like that. So that's what we're really trying to work with the shops that are invested to do the right thing for the candidates, but the candidates have to want it as well, right? So
I'm more curious about the reaction of the technicians when you bring up digital inspections. And what you said about shops who haven't even embraced the digital inspection process yet, there are shops that I've been personally in contact with that said, "Oh, we tried it, but nobody liked it," which is Greek for "we let the tail wag the dog" here, and they wonder why they're stressed out and have to cover the back of the front. And I only ask that because do you ever hear technicians say, "Oh no, we don't inspect cars. So I've never inspected cars, so I don't think we should inspect cars." And I've run into that objection in the past. I actually wrote an article why every car should be inspected, which has helped a lot of techs and shop owners understand the importance of performing a good inspection. Have you run into that with the techs?
I would say we have. We've definitely run into technicians, and we've actually placed technicians that maybe do not have DVI experience. And again, it's a matter of pairing them with the shop. Our goal is to try to educate the shop on the front end about and we do this a lot, about not just software that can help their business grow and thrive and bring more profits to their business, processes, benefits, pay, all of the above. So our goal is to try to educate the shops on the front end to help their business grow, but also attract the best talent. And then as far as the technicians go, many times it's just making sure we understand on the front end what's important to the shop. We have many of our shops that do an inspection, and I'm sure many of you are like this, on every single car that comes in. And so we have to, on the front end, make sure that the technician understands this is their process. They're going to do a digital inspection on every single car that comes in. And here's why that's a value add to you. So these technicians, they want to be busy. They
Good.
want to turn hours. I think they don't want to be dealing with paperwork and, working on processes that aren't efficient for them to get their job done. So for us, it's a matter of really making sure that we understand the shop and how their processes operate, so that we can sell the technicians on the front end, those people that are really looking for a shop where they can turn hours, they can be efficient. They don't have to have as high of a car count because their repair order is much greater. And so that's what we try to do, is make sure that the mindset that the shop has on the front end is similar to the mindset of the technician.
And what you said was brilliant, because I know a lot of shops say, "I want more cars, more cars, more cars." And what they really need to do is make the cars they have count more instead of going after more car count. Yes. Very good. Yeah. And a well-done inspection does that.
Yeah.
So an observation from me, I believe that I'm one of these people that like Frank was talking about, people, shops that allow the back end of the shop to say, we're not doing DVI. It's just too much trouble, or for whatever reason, they just, maybe, who knows. But anyway, I believe that those shops won't be here 5 to 10 years from now. It'll be hard to find a shop not doing DVI, because those not doing DVI will have self-selected. Okay. So, that being said, when you're talking to a technician, I don't know, how do you acquire a technician? How do you find a technician, right, that's looking for a job, that's looking for a change? And then when you're talking to this technician, are you talking to them about DVI and about how important it is to go to a shop that's using it, that is not just using DVI, but seriously capitalizing on it? Because there's a difference between having DVI available in your shop and actually capitalizing on it.
I've got to mention something real quick about that, because we've hired techs that have used the same DVI program that we use. We use AutoVitals. Yeah. And they say, "Oh yeah, I work over here. They use AutoVitals. I know how to use it." And they show up and they go, "I didn't know that. I didn't know that. I didn't know that. I didn't know that." And
that's right.
Because Bruce and I, man, we're like early adopters, and it's like, okay, I spent a lot of money for this. I'm going to know everything I need to know. And then we share that with our team. So absolutely a big part of it. But how do you find your techs?
I think Frank was describing me, actually. I think I look at it a lot of times and I don't know. I don't know what it does. But
Um,
the general manager, the guys that are working with it really do know. And if I see something that needs to be done, if I say, well, you know what, it would be good to be able to do this, will it do it? That's when I find out.
yeah. Yeah, I think so. Before where we find our techs, and that's something we've been talking more about too, right? Is what level of DVI are shops on, right? So whoever built Auto Vitals, I mean, has all the bells and whistles, right? And it's the full blown, and it's a great software. Oh,
That
there it
guy
is.
right there.
Yeah.
So like, you know, you look at, and there's different levels even within Auto Vitals, right? And then within all the other ones out there. So it's really understanding and, you know, continuous education on our team of all the different platforms and DVI levels out there. Because like you said, there's a difference of taking a picture and sending it versus capturing the video versus the notes versus adding the tire pressure, et cetera, et cetera. So, we're still cleaning up kind of our intake, getting more in depth with our intake process. So we're just continuing to bolt on more specific questions, and we're always, you know, open for feedback from shops to say, hey, how can we continue fine tuning this? But as it relates to where we're finding tech, so what we do is we kind of look at the passive candidates and the active candidates. So you look at the active candidates being those job board candidates. So Indeed, ZipRecruiter, maybe LinkedIn, all of those out there. So what we're doing, and a lot of shops are using Indeed, for example, we'll use that. And I would say that some are better than others. What we're doing though, we're monitoring Indeed all day, every day. What we've learned is speed to lead. So if someone's applying to your shop, they're probably applying to 5, 10, 15 other shops at the same time. So whoever gets them on the phone quickest, and, you know, if they look like a good fit on paper, our recruiters are reaching out within an hour to 2 hours as that application comes in. So if they look like a good fit for the shop we're recruiting for, our recruiters will try calling them. Chances of getting on the phone the first time, probably not likely. So it's that constant follow-up. It's the texting. Once we get them on the phone, we run them through the interview process. Also through those job boards, there's a lot more that you can do that we're utilizing as far as campaigns, as far as ads, things like that we're continuing to bolt onto. Then we also go after passive candidates. So we don't put the full court press on. Basically what we're doing, so through these job boards too, we're outsourcing and we're reaching out to candidates that if the resume looks like a good fit. But we also changed over our applicant tracking system a couple months ago. So that's basically, I like to explain it, kind of like a CRM-ish, where our recruiters live every day. That has a database of a few 100,000 people in the automotive industry. So we could type in a specific zip code, certain mile radius, let's say 25-mile radius around your shop, and type in certain tags. So if you're looking for a Eurotech, you're looking for a service advisor, maybe someone that specializes in BMW, whatever the case may be, we could really hone in, and it populates passive candidates. So it tells us where they're currently working, how long they've been there, if they have a LinkedIn, if they have a Facebook, their contact info. So that really gives our recruiters a hit list to be able to call and see if they're open for an opportunity, because chances are they're maybe not completely miserable where they're at, but they're not overly happy. They just haven't brushed up their resume and started to apply to, you know, dozen different jobs. So it's a simple question to say, hey, you look like a good fit. We have a great shop in your area. Are you interested in hearing more? If they are, we run them through the process. If they're happy where they're at, great, we move on to the next one. Last, I'd say we're educating a lot of dealership technicians that you don't need to work at a dealership to get pay, training, experience, et cetera. So I would say just kind of high level, those are our different approaches. We like to take a 360 approach on those active and passive candidates. And then we have Google ads, Facebook ads, partnerships in the industry. And then the longer term play, which is a tall task, is really trying to bridge that gap with those young adults and students and getting them into independent shops. So that's kind of our short term and long term vision.
That's
Yeah,
great
and the
stuff.
biggest thing I would add to that is that, as you guys know, I'm sure you've looked at many resumes throughout your careers in staffing, is that the most talented automotive technicians and also service advisors and other roles may not be the best at writing resumes, right? So a lot of what we do is we're focused on having conversations, talking to candidates. So if we were to do a keyword search on a specific technology, a specific DVI, I mean, we're not going to come up with any candidates. So our goal as a team is to talk to as many candidates as possible, and really through those conversations, not only dig into their technical experience and what they're looking for, but also just making sure that we understand what's important to the best technicians in the industry. Why would a technician work for one shop over another? And through those conversations, we're able to educate our shop owners as to what the market is saying. We work with technicians across the country, and so we'll hear things on the East Coast that might be similar or different than the West Coast. So we really try to focus on having as many conversations as possible, just to continue to keep ourselves educated and therefore educate our shop owners.
Guys, I have to tell you, we have 2 minutes left.
Yeah. The second fastest 30 minutes on the planet.
I was going to say.
I told you.
There's time for another question.
Okay, so I just want to say to you guys as you're recruiting to, first of all, I think it's great. You sound really good. You need to be worrying about what your recruits think of you and try to get word out that way. Okay, that's just a suggestion of mine. And as you're recruiting, you need to be thinking about shops that use DVI and use DVI at a high level. And when you have a recruit and you're thinking of their best interest, that's where the future is in this industry. I honestly believe that any shop, maybe 10 years, but at least 5 years from now, any shop not using DVI at a high level they're not going to be they'll just be grease monkeys at that point.
And we'll be able to buy them real cheap.
Real cheap if we want them. Right.
Cool. Any last word from you guys? Lisa, Joelle, Amy?
No, we appreciate you guys having us on here. And I mean, we obviously believe in DVI. I want to be super clear there that we agree with you. This is a must for not just the future, but I think today too. So it's been fun talking to these technicians. We've learned a lot. They're not used to being quote unquote headhunted either, by the way. So like getting these random calls isn't something that they're used to compared to, say, salespeople who are selling software, to shops or something. So we've been educating a lot of them on, like what Amy's saying, not just their resume, but what they could be getting working for independent shops with the tools like DVI, the CRM functions that exist out there too, lots of different technology. So it is an education process, and appreciate everything you guys have said, and any advice you have, like, we will take it. Like, fire it off to us, Bruce. Yeah. Anybody, Frank? Yeah.
Well, I'll open the invitation. Reach out to me anytime if you want to pick my brain. I love doing that. I love sharing my knowledge. Is there a website that, in case somebody wants to get a hold of you?
Yeah, it's just gopromotive.com. So GOPRO motive.com.